Welcome to Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Joel, the prophet Joel, chapter 2, verses 20 through 32. Now, it talks about how I'm going to drive this northern horde, this northern army, into the sea. And many interpreters get this wrong, thinking that this is a reference to the army of Assyria. But go down to verse 25, and he says, I'm going to repay you for what the locusts have eaten. The great locust, the young locust, the other locust, this locust swarm, this great army. There it says right there. And so this is the army that's cast into the sea. And who sent them? The Lord says, I sent them among you as an expression of God's wrath, so that the people of Israel, the people of God, would come back in obedience to the Lord, be faithful once again. Now, verse 21 says, don't be afraid, land of Judah, so the people of God. And you think about it, if this farming community is told not to be afraid when everything they had has been stripped down to the nub. I mean, they look out in their fields and there's nothing but brown stalks. He says in verse 22 to the animals, oh, wild animals, don't you be afraid when again, every piece of green vegetation is gone. The locusts have eaten it all. And so the wrath isn't just upon God's people, it's upon all of everything that's there. And so they've been stripped down to nothing. They've been left with nothing. And why are they not to not have fear? Verse 23, be glad. Don't be fearful, but be glad, people of Zion, rejoice, because the Lord your God is going to restore you. He's going to send autumn rains. Why? Because he's faithful. He's going to send abundant showers as he did before. And you're going to have an overflow of wine and oil, and your threshing floors will be full. Why? Because God is going to restore you. And who is the one doing this? It's the Lord in his righteousness, in his faithfulness. He's going to work wonders amongst you so that once again, you know that God is God. And so often, we have to be stripped down to nothing until finally we will look up to God and ask God to be faithful, because we had assumed that it was all up to us and that God could just take a back seat. And he says, verse 27, then you will know that I am the Lord, your God, and there is no other, and you will quit looking to other sources for your salvation, for your rescue. You'll know that I am the Lord in Israel, amongst God's people. So then we go on to verse 28. I will pour out my spirit. And this passage is what Peter uses to jumpstart his first sermon, right? On Pentecost. And about how God is pouring out his spirit as what? An expression of the last day. That in the last day, God will give his spirit so that his people will have his presence within them, right? And what is this last day? As Jesus speaks about, it is the day when the Lord comes. And it is a great and dreadful day, not for people of faith who believe, but for those who hate God, those who have nothing to do with God. They will be afraid. And, again, the verse 31, the sun will be turned to darkness, the moon to blood. I mean, these are the words that we hear from Jesus in his apocalyptic pronouncements. Verse 32, and everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. And we hear this reiterated by Peter. Whoever calls on God will be saved. And there will be deliverance because the Lord is the one who provides it. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.